Welcome back to Epic Elevation TV, where we elevate your mind, spirit, and life to the next level. Today, we're diving deep into something we all experience but rarely think about: the perception of time. Did you know that our brains literally experience time differently depending on our age? In fact, a 2019 study published in Scientific Reports suggests that as we grow older, our perception of time speeds up because our brains are processing information at a slower rate compared to when we were younger. This phenomenon is why childhood summers seemed endless, but as adults, weeks fly by in a blur. Here's a surprising stat. According to research, by the time you're 40, you may feel like your life is already halfway over, not just chronologically, but because of how your brain is perceiving the passage of time. It's all connected to the way our minds compress familiar experiences, which shortens the sense of time as we age. Now let's talk productivity. Time perception can significantly affect how productive we are. In a study published by Harvard Business Review, people who felt that time was scarce were more likely to procrastinate and felt less satisfied with their accomplishments. The key takeaway: changing your perception of time can lead to a more fulfilling and productive life. Let's explore more surprising insights about time perception and how you can reshape your relationship with it. At Epic Elevation TV, we are always striving to make interesting and engaging content to help elevate your mind and inspire you to break barriers. If you are enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. Stick around for Part 2. Part 2. Time perception. Time. It's one of the most fundamental aspects of our lives, yet it's also one of the most misunderstood. We all get 24 hours in a day, but why does it feel like some of us are always rushing, while others seem to effortlessly accomplish so much more? The answer lies in time perception. Time perception is our brain's ability to sense and process the passage of time, and it plays a much bigger role in our daily lives than we often realize. Whether you're tackling your to-do list, making decisions, or reflecting on your day, how you perceive time directly influences your sense of urgency, your focus, and even your happiness. For years, I struggled with time. Despite having big goals and ambitions, I constantly felt like I was running out of time. Hours slipped away, days blurred together, and no matter how hard I worked, there was always that nagging feeling that I wasn't doing enough. The challenge was clear. I had the time, but my perception of it was distorted. I felt stressed, overwhelmed, and constantly behind. It wasn't until I began to truly understand the science of how we experience time that everything changed. In today's fast-paced world, the way we perceive time can be the difference between a life of anxiety and one of balance. But here's the good news. You can actually reshape how your brain processes time, leading to better focus, increased productivity, and more peace of mind. Now, let's dig deeper into what I learned and how it can transform the way you experience time in your daily life. Part 3. When it comes to time, the struggle is real for so many of us. We've all been there, procrastinating, putting off important tasks, or feeling completely overwhelmed by the sheer number of things on our plate. But what if I told you that these challenges are often more about our perception of time than the tasks themselves? Let's talk about procrastination, a classic example of time slipping through our fingers. Psychologists suggest that procrastination often stems from what's called time inconsistency. Our brains favor immediate rewards over long-term benefits, causing us to push things off, even when we know the future consequences will be stressful. We underestimate how much time we have, and suddenly we're stuck in a cycle of putting things off until the last minute. Then there's that feeling of being overwhelmed, a direct result of feeling like time is constantly slipping away. We're juggling deadlines, projects, social obligations, and personal goals, and it feels like there just aren't enough hours in the day. According to a study from Psychology Today, when people feel overwhelmed, their brains enter a time urgency mode, which heightens anxiety and reduces productivity. It's a vicious loop. The more pressure we feel, the less efficient we become, and the more time we seem to lose. These challenges don't just slow us down, they also affect our mental well-being. When time feels out of control, we feel out of control. Studies show that people who constantly feel like they're racing against the clock are more likely to experience burnout, frustration, and even depression. But here's the reality. The issue isn't the amount of time we have, it's the way we manage it. By shifting how we perceive time, we can break free from these patterns of procrastination and overwhelm. In the next section, we'll dive into the strategies that helped me regain control of my time and how they can help you do the same. Part 4. There I was, in the middle of 2018, drowning in deadlines, back-to-back meetings, and endless tasks. Despite all my planning and productivity tools, my days felt like a blur, and I was constantly chasing time. I remember one specific morning. Everything seemed to hit at once. Emails were piling up, notifications buzzing non-stop, and I had this huge presentation due by the end of the week that I hadn't even touched. It was that classic feeling of overwhelm, where time felt like it was slipping through my fingers. Something had to change. So I decided to experiment with something different, rethinking how I processed time, not just how I managed it. The first thing I did was break down my perception of time into smaller, more manageable chunks. Inspired by the Pomodoro technique, I started dividing my day into 25-minute focus blocks, giving myself 5-minute breaks in between. But I took it a step further. I turned those breaks into mindfulness moments. Instead of checking my phone or responding to messages, I stepped away from the screen, practiced deep breathing, and reset my mind. Those small moments of mindfulness made a huge difference in my ability to stay focused and present. Then, I implemented what I now call the time audit. Each Sunday, I would review the past week and analyze how I'd spent my time. No excuses, just cold, hard facts. I categorized everything: work, personal growth, leisure, and even wasted time. And I was shocked. I realized I was spending way more time on low-priority tasks and distractions than I thought. With this new awareness, I set clear boundaries for the upcoming week, prioritizing the tasks that aligned with my bigger goals. But the real game changer was something I call the reverse time hack. Instead of planning my days based on what I needed to do, I started planning based on how I wanted to feel by the end of the day. Did I want to feel accomplished, creative, relaxed? This shift allowed me to focus on the quality of my time, not just the quantity of tasks I could complete. Suddenly, time became less of an enemy and more of an ally. The results? My productivity skyrocketed, not because I was doing more, but because I was doing what mattered and letting go of the things that didn't. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had control of my time, instead of it controlling me. By shifting my time processing from focus blocks and audits to feeling-based planning, I turned the chaos into calm, and I've never looked back. It's amazing what can happen when we take control of how we perceive time. The pivotal moment came on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I had just wrapped up a big project, one that I would normally feel drained by. But instead, something felt different. I looked at the clock, expecting to see that I had been working for hours, but it had only been about 90 minutes. Instead of that usual sense of exhaustion, I felt energized, focused, and surprisingly calm. That's when it hit me. My perception of time had completely shifted. I was no longer racing against the clock or anxiously counting down the hours in my day. For the first time in years, I wasn't just managing time. I was experiencing it differently. It was as if my days had more space in them, more room to breathe. I was no longer feeling overwhelmed or crushed by my to-do list, and the anxiety I once felt about never having enough time started to fade away. The emotional impact was huge. I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced before. Tasks that used to feel like mountains were now manageable. The constant feeling of rushing, gone. I had shifted from a scarcity mindset around time, thinking there was never enough of it, to an abundance mindset, where time felt expansive and full of possibility. That was the moment I knew. Changing the way I process time didn't just improve my productivity, it changed the quality of my life. And if I could do it, anyone could. So, as you reflect on your own perception of time, remember, it's not about trying to control time. It's about changing your relationship with it. When you master that, the way you live, work, and thrive will change in ways you never thought possible. Let's wrap it up. In my journey to reshape how I process time, I gained some powerful insights. 1. Time isn't the problem. It's how we perceive and experience it. By shifting your mindset and using strategies like focus blocks and time audits, you can regain control over your day. 2. Mindfulness and intentional breaks can be game changers. Taking a few moments to reset your mind helps you stay focused and less overwhelmed. 3. Planning your time around how you want to feel, not just what you want to accomplish, leads to more fulfilling days. This approach keeps you aligned with your bigger goals and prevents burnout. The overall benefits? Less stress, more clarity, and a sense of balance. You'll find yourself being more productive, not by working harder, but by working smarter and with purpose. Here's your challenge. Take a step today to rethink your relationship with time. Try implementing just one of these strategies in your daily life, whether it's the focus blocks, a time audit, or planning based on feelings, and see how it transforms your day. And don't stop there. Come back to Epic Elevation TV to explore more ways to elevate your mind and your life. We've got plenty of videos that dive deep into productivity, mindfulness, and strategies for living at your highest potential. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Let's continue to rise together.